You know the vibes, PVO, positive vibes only, FOE, family over everything, high vibrations. Today I want to talk to y'all about just some current events, some things that's, taking place, in my home state, Maryland. Um, guess you can call me trying to be on like, kind of like my journalism type of tip. Just trying to keep you all tuned in if you're not already tuned in. Once again, if you distracted with, your 9 to 5 or, you know, your routine at home, within your household with your children, or just, what I'm saying, you consumed and just you drowning in your electronics, what I mean, social media, things like that. You don't have time to really you know, keep up the pace or, what I mean, keep up to date with what's going on. I'm gonna bring you a little up to speed, if you all are interested. Maryland State Police is preparing for armed protesters at State House next week as FBI issues national as FBI issues nationwide warnings. This is an article that I came across. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. Maryland State Police is preparing for the possibility of violence at the State House in Annapolis next week after officials received an FBI bulletin that warned of plans for armed protests at all 50 state capitals and in Washington in the days leading up to the president-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. Annapolis is among the state capitals across the country stepping up security in response to the threats of armed demonstrations. Following last week's deadly insurrection attempt at the U.S. Capitol by supporters of President Donald Trump, who sought to overturn the results of the presidential election. If you all aren't up to speed, I can bring you up to speed. It's been buzzing all over the news, social media, as far as the protests that went on in Washington D.C. a few days ago at the U.S. Capitol. It was breached. There were some things that took place. Apparently, someone had got shot. They broke into it. People was climbing over the walls. It was a lot of things that went on. You're hearing all kinds of stories as far as, conspiracy theories. This was staged. This was that. We're not really going to get into all that. That's a whole separate video. But just trying to bring y'all a little up to speed as far as, what it is I'm talking about in reference within this article. The Maryland State Police is aware of online information regarding the possibility of armed demonstrations in state capitals on January 17th. State Police spokesman Gregory Shipley said in a statement, "We remain in constant contact with our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners regarding any potential events with a criminal nexus in Annapolis. If such an event is scheduled, the Maryland State Police will work in support of the Maryland Capitol Police, Annapolis Police Department, and Arundel County Police and other public safety agencies to ensure adequate etiquette. I'm sorry, I said that right the first time. Adequate law enforcement resources are available to address any violations of law." During a Monday morning news conference, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan said additional security measures were being taken at the State House in Annapolis, but declined to elaborate on the threats that have circulated on social media. He joined officials in Virginia and Washington in asking people not to travel to D.C. for Biden's inauguration. So there was a news conference that took place Monday morning where Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, he was addressing some of these issues and concerns. And he also mentioned him and officials from Virginia and Washington. They were asking people not to travel to D.C. for Biden's upcoming inauguration. A spokesman for the Republican governor confirmed that the state received the FBI bulletin warning of armed protests being planned across the country through Inauguration Day. The FBI bulletin warned armed protests are being planned at all 50 state capitals from January 16th through at least January 20th, and at the U.S. Capitol from January 17th through January 20th, according to an official who spoke to the Associated Press on conditions of anonymity. Joy Jarrett, a spokesman for the FBI Baltimore field office, confirmed that the agency had been in touch with Hogan recently about security plans for the Maryland State House, but she declined to elaborate on the plans, and she declined to elaborate on the plans or the potential threat. We are gathering information to identify any potential threats and are sharing that information with our partners, she said in a statement. Our focus is not on peaceful protesters, but on those threatening their safety and the safety of citizens with violence and destruction of property. State and local officials in Annapolis said security was being heightened for the coming weeks, and they urged any protesters to demonstrate peacefully. Annapolis Mayor Gavin Buckley, a Democrat, said he was instructed the city's Office of Emergency Management, Police Department, and Fire Department to coordinate with local and regional law enforcement to ensure public safety. House of Delegates Speaker Adrian A. Jones, a Baltimore County Democrat, said political leaders are working with police to increase security at the State House complex. The public has largely been barred from entering the State House and other state government buildings in Annapolis since the coronavirus pandemic reached Maryland in March. During the upcoming legislative session, members of the public can only enter the building if they have appointment with a lawmaker. There have been periodic peaceful demonstrations this year around the State House and State Circle, primarily held by those pushing for the governor to relax pandemic restrictions. Republican Del Nick Kipke, Republican Del Nick Kipke, the minority leader in the House of Delegates, urged any members of his party upset by Trump's loss to Biden to understand that we are the party of law and order. There's a right way to express political opinions and a wrong way, said Kepke, who represents Anne Arundel County. The right way is on election day through the political process. He added, the violence that happened in Washington, D.C. is horrific, and all Republicans need to condemn it. The Transportation Security Administration also announced Monday that there will be enhanced security screenings and technology at the Baltimore Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport ahead of the inauguration. Following Wednesday's takeover of the U.S. Capitol, Maryland sent 200 state troopers and 500 members of the Maryland National Guard to the District of Columbia. Hogan said Maryland may send several hundred more Guard members to provide security support ahead of the presidential inauguration next Wednesday. The FBI's Baltimore field office also will be sending agents to D.C. to assist with security for the inauguration, J-Reyes confirmed. The Maryland National Guard and police departments typically provide security assistance during presidential inaugurations in Washington, Hogan said, but this is obviously a much more heightened situation. 5 people, including one Capitol police officer, died in Wednesday riot, allegedly. That's just me putting my spin on it, allegedly, because I don't know. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff going on. They trying to rock us to sleep. So many distractions. Like, it's just a big ass stage. This whole that's a whole nother video though. Five people, including one Capitol police officer, died in Wednesday's riot. Last week, Hogan described how he was ready to send Maryland Guard members to the U.S. Capitol, only to be slowed by the reluctance of federal officials to call in support from nearby states. After Monday afternoon call with Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser and Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, both Democrats, Hogan joined them in urging people to watch Biden's January 20th inauguration from home while promising to provide security forces to ensure a smooth transition of power. Due to the unique circumstances surrounding the 59th presidential inauguration, including last week's violent insurrection, as well as the ongoing and deadly COVID-19 pandemic, we are taking the extraordinary step of encouraging Americans not to come to Washington, D.C. and to instead participate virtually, the official said in a joint statement. In this very trying time, January 6th was a dark moment for our nation, they said. But we know that we will get through this period because American ideals have stronger than one extreme ideology. Together we will overcome extremism and get back to the work of our residents. Man, I told y'all it'd be a lot going on in Maryland, man. Maryland seemed like we always in the mix of every fucking thing. This shit is crazy, man. I came across something else I want to share with you all off, and then I'm gonna sign out. This actually just came in too. It's another article from the Washington Post. The article that I read before was from the Baltimore Sun. I'm gonna leave the links in the description if you are interested. Hogan pitches $750 stimulus checks for Maryland's poorest families. And this is January 11th, 2021, around 9 p.m. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, a Republican, on Monday proposed a stimulus package exceeding $1 billion, suggesting the state's poorest families should get a $750 payments as soon as possible to help buffer the economic calamity of the coronavirus pandemic. His proposal, which requires General Assembly approval, would also effectively send more cash to the state's 709,000 unemployed people by waiving state and local taxes on unemployment benefits and entitling them to a big tax refund. Another piece of his coronavirus relief plan would let small businesses keep up to $12,000 worth of sales tax levied on their customers and implement other changes to reduce tax bills. The Maryland General Assembly convenes Wednesday for its annual legislative session, and Hogan urged lawmakers to approve the aid quickly. I cannot imagine anything that could possibly be more important for the legislators to pass, the governor said in Annapolis news conference. He said swift action was necessary to immediately get these much needed dollars out the door. Hogan and the General Assembly's Democratic leaders have converged for months on a potential stimulus package, but have developed their own proposals. House Speaker Adrian A. Jones, a Democrat from Baltimore County, and Senate President Bill Ferguson, a Democrat from Baltimore City, said that Hogan's plan incorporated our priorities, but that Democrats in the legislature also have additional goals. Those include sending more aid to nursing homes and essential workers, fixing the state's broken unemployment system, and giving schools more money to help get children back to in-person learning. They did not commit to passing Hogan's proposal quickly. We look forward to the governor working with us to accomplish these goals and demonstrating for the country what the value of bipartisanship can be. Their joint statement said. Hogan repeatedly described his plan as targeted. The proposed stimulus checks would go only to residents who qualify for the state's earned income tax credit. Eligibility is determined on a sliding scale by annual income and family size, capped at $15,820 for a single person and $56,844 for a family with 3 or more children. In Maryland, which has one of the nation's highest median incomes, more than 400,000 people qualify for the tax credit and would get checks under Hogan's proposal. Money would be distributed in 2 tranches. Individuals would receive $450 total, while families would get $750. Every day that goes by without passing a stimulus and tax relief package means more jobs that will be lost, more families will lose their homes, more businesses will go out of business, and more people that suffer. Hogan said struggling Marylanders and small businesses who are barely hanging on cannot afford the kind of partisan bickering and needless delay that we have seen in Washington. The proposal falls far shorter of one pushed by a frequent Hogan ally, Comptroller Peter Franschot, a Democrat who is running for governor in 2022. For weeks, Franschot has publicly and privately called on the governor to send $2,000 checks to state residents, and action he says the governor could take unilaterally. Hogan said that spending that much money would be an irresponsible action, and that he could not do it without legislative approval. So if I'm reading this right, it sounds like Peter Franschot, who's a Democrat who's running for governor in 2022, for weeks he's been mentioning publicly and privately on the governor to send out $2,000 checks to state residents. And we're talking about the governor proposing a $750 to families stimulus check, and we're talking about $450 for individuals. But this Democrat who's running for governor in 2022, he's been pressing the issue for it to be more within this for Maryland residents. Hogan apparently thinks that that's too much money, $2,000, and that's irresponsible. This is his exact words. Hogan said that spending that much money would be an irresponsible action, that he could not do it without legislative approval. So he said it would be irresponsible and he couldn't do it without legislative approval. Franchot accused Hogan of passing the buck. The thousands of Marylanders who are on the verge of homelessness, by the way, which it was December 31st, the whole eviction thing for a lot of people, not just in Maryland, but all over the United States. It has been extended to January 31st. But even with that being said, there's still a lot of people are facing homelessness and eviction. So that's a whole nother issue that, we're dealing with as well. The thousands of Marylanders who are on the verge of homelessness, who are going to bed hungry every night and who are accruing unsustainable debt cannot and should not wait one more day until their state government provides the help they desperately need, Franchot said in a statement. I like this Franchot guy. I'm gonna have to dig into him a little bit. They say he's running for governor for 2022. You know what I'm saying? His plan doesn't include assistance to struggling families and small businesses now. Hogan said he would pay for the plan by using $100 million from the Maryland for $100 million from states' rainy day fund, cash that states accumulated because the economy rebounded better than expected from the pandemic triggered recession, and money stashed away by the Board of Public Works in July during an unprecedented round of early budget cuts. Meanwhile, Maryland's largest public employee union called Monday for legislation that would create workplace projections for workers during the pandemic, including a right to refuse dangerous work, free testing and reporting of positive tests, and an additional $3 an hour for hazardous pay. The union AFSCME Council 3 is at an impasse with the Hogan administration over pay for the upcoming year. So yeah, that was just a brief little article as far as just some things that are going on in Maryland with Governor Hogan and some other politicians, and as far as what's coming up with the inauguration and with the proposal of those stimulus checks. Y'all just stay focused, stay balanced, stay aware. You know what I mean? Don't get rocked to sleep. You know what I mean? And I love y'all, man. Stay blessed.